afternoon, lovely Sangha. It's so wonderful to have people here and at home. In order to keep our practice as peaceful and tranquil as possible, please mute your microphones at home and do your best to silence your cell phones if you can. There are so many wonderful things happening at Heartwood, retreats coming up, book studies happening, and many teachers and residents, a new one here today. Please just visit our website and check out our most current offerings. And we invite you to sign up and register and enjoy what you can with us here at Heartwood. Also, if you are feeling called and feeling kind, you can check out our options to support us by donating financially or gifts in kind, shopping at Thrifty Treasures, or even checking out our Amazon wish list. So glad you could be here today. Thank you.
Like your too?
No.
Thank you very much, Kim. Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're going to start with just a chant to invite all the holy beings, our ancestors, our loved ones on the other side of the veil to join us in this room this morning for Dharma. Incense burning, all space is filled with the fragrance. All Buddhas smell it from afar. Auspicious clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. We pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. Well, my calling is to share Dharma through music. And so you will be liberally sprinkled with music during this Dharma talk today. It is my great honor to be a guest teacher here at Heartwood while Venerable is out with Master ZZ and Buddha Master in California. Okay, so in this song, I would like you to listen to this, not as a song, and don't see me as a singer or entertainer, that sort of thing. What I'm going to ask you to do is stay in a meditative, go to your meditative place and feel the lyrics to this song in your heart, and just allow me to be a vehicle that the Dharmic message of the song is coming through. We tend to believe in all that we think, imagining patterns in all that we see. We try to find meaning in everything, but what do we really know? Just look a little deeper, question your thoughts, You know that this thinking ain't all that we've got. There's a truer awareness when the thinking subsides, letting go of ourselves, closing our eyes. It's in stillness the truth abides. It's in stillness the truth abides. There's really no me, and there's really no you. These bodies are made up of bones and sinew. But open it up and you won't find you. So what do we really know? Just look a little deeper, question your thoughts. You know that this thinking ain't all that we've got. There's a truer awareness when the thinking subsides, letting go of ourself, closing our eyes. It's in stillness the truth abides. It's in stillness the truth abides. We're just specks of stardust, all coated with life. Our wisdom's been sleeping, that's why it's a fight. Wake up to that house builder telling us lies about what we really know. Just look a little deeper, question your thoughts. You know that this thinking ain't all that we've got. There's a truer awareness when the thinking subsides, letting go of ourself, closing our eyes. It's in stillness the truth abides. It's in stillness the truth abides. It's in stillness the truth abides. So stay right there. Stay right in that sweet, still place. Feeling the stillness. Feeling the lyric. This thinking is not all we've got. There's a deeper awareness, a fuller, a truer awareness. When the thinking subsides, we let go of the self. There we are, in that space of truth. I want to offer you a little quote from the Dhammapada. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Speak or act with an impure mind, and trouble will follow you as the wheel follows the ox that draws the cart. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you as your shadow, unshakable. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you as your shadow, unshakable. And we all know, we've seen it, we're all seeking happiness. Some of us are still in the illusion, most of us are still in the illusion that we're going to get happiness from things. But those of us who have been practicing for very long or have a little age on us have figured it out. No, that doesn't help. I remember my brother telling me the story of when he got his new house, and he and his wife wanted a hot tub, and they were firmly convinced that if they could get that hot tub, they would be happy. That's all they needed. And so they saved up, and they did. And they got the hot tub, and it was lovely. And they invited the family over, and we all got to get in the hot tub. And he says, and it worked. It brought me happiness for 2 weeks. And then we needed a swimming pool. And that's how it is. I mean, this is so temporary, the satisfaction that we get from material things. It's all so very temporary, and it's not true happiness. So another thing I'd like to point your attention to, which is so important to realize, is that we're not only practicing, the practice is how we will come to the realization of where truth is, that there is no solid separate self. That realization, that's what really brings us that. There aren't words for it, and happiness doesn't do it justice, but that place of maybe bliss, maybe rapture, maybe at one level that, but then at another level, deeper or higher, however you want to see it, there's that place where there truly is no fragment of self remaining. That's the enlightenment, the nirvana. That's that place. But words don't do that justice. And we can talk and try to describe it, wrap words around it, and it helps a little to get us pointed in the right direction. But it's kind of like the map, but the map is not the territory. And until we have the experience of traversing the territory, we don't really know. And so today is an invitation to take a little tiny chunk that might help you in traversing the territory. So we not only are practicing for ourselves, but for all beings. So I want to give you another quote. This one is from the Avatamsaka Sutra. And it says, far away in the heavenly abode of the great god Indra, there is a wonderful net which has been hung by some cunning artificer in such a manner that it stretches out infinitely in all directions. In accordance with the extravagant tastes of deities, the artificer has hung a single glittering jewel in each eye of the net. And since the net itself is infinite in dimension, the jewels are infinite in number. The hanging jewels, glittering like stars of the first magnitude, are a wonderful sight to behold. If we now look closely at any one of those jewels for inspection, we will discover that in its polished surface are reflected all the other jewels in the net, infinite in number. Not only that, but each of the jewels reflected in this one jewel is reflecting all the other jewels. So that there is an infinite reflection process occurring. This symbolizes our world, where every sentient being and thing is interrelated to one another. And so we are not just practicing for ourselves. Our practice is for the benefit of all beings. And whether we realize it or not, it still works. Even if you never heard that we practice for all beings. Those that are just practicing for their own salvation, for their own transformation, they can't help but influence every other being because we're all reflected in one another. That's why we can say there's no solid separate self, because I am you, you are me, we are one another on some level deeper than this physical material world. the true reality. This is just like an independent film we call life. It's full of drama. It's full of all kinds of stuff. There's nothing wrong with appreciating it and enjoying the process here. But it's also very important for us to do that with a heart of great compassion. Okay, so what the topic of this conversation here this morning is cultivating an open heart through an appreciation practice. And although I'd rather just speak to you and look into your beautiful faces as I share this, I'm working with a 70-year-old brain, and so I'm going to be reading a lot from my notes to you. And now I just want to share this one little piece. How many eyes, and my disclaimer to you, because there's a self in here who doesn't want you to think that she's too stupid to share the Dharma without notes or whatever it is. But did you see self arising right in that moment, right up here? It's constant. It's with us. Our little human animals are all about me. And so the training of these human animals is so crucial. We see it with dogs. If you get a wonderful puppy that's from great bloodlines, or better still, a great mongrel, but you don't do any training with that dog, you've got a dog that's going to pee on your carpet, you've got a dog that's going to chew up your stuff, and what you get in the end, that animal was never able to fulfill its true potential as a loving being that brings joy into lives, because it didn't get the training. We are the dog, and we are the trainer. So we get to look at our human animal and realize, this is my seeing eye dog. It's young still. It's still chewing up our spiritual slippers. But with love and a non-judgmental kindness and compassion towards this human animal, we will make great, great strides in our training of ourselves. And then our human animals are a great instrument to bring joy, to bring love, to bring kindness, to model what does kindness and compassion look like in the face of anger and hatred. Once we've trained our little human animal, we can model it. And you can talk all day to somebody, but if it goes against what their beliefs, their ideas and fixed beliefs are, the minute you start talking, here comes that wall. You can almost see it. You can certainly see it in the glazing over of the face or the yeah, but that they say. And so speaking is something we can offer when there's a listening ear. But when there's not a listening ear, we are not helpless. We are completely empowered through our modeling of the kindness, our modeling of the compassion. How do we respond when anger is triggered in them, frustration is triggered in them? We've all got that same string. If you put a bunch of violins in a room and then you pluck the A string on that violin, all those other A strings in a moment will start vibrating, and every violin will be making noise because they've all got an A string. If they didn't have an A string on them, nothing would happen to those fiddles on the wall. But they do. We all have, as human animals, we all have that capacity for those afflictive emotions as well. And they were very useful at one point to us because in those really preliminary days, our survival depended on a lot of this caution, fear, and even anger, defending territory. But we are not there anymore. This species has progressed tremendously since those days, and those leftover things need to be trained and subdued. Okay, so let's think about for a minute how different life can be when we see it through the eyes of appreciation. You can be stressed out, you can have had a really rough day, and you can take yourself over to DuPont Park and take a walk and go to the waterfalls and feel the appreciation for nature, the beauty, the sound of the water, all of it. The stress can just drain out through that appreciation of the beauty in nature. Appreciation is a very powerful tool to help us train our little human puppy. So, and the inconveniences of life, when you're looking at the mountains and you're looking at the majesty of nature, the inconveniences of life can kind of pale in comparison. You know, you can take a deep breath and you can actually choose to let it go and just fill up that empty spot with beauty and appreciation. And when you come out of there and then you get home and your partner or your child or another being triggers your A string, you're able to just take from your resource, from your reservoir of appreciation, and find something. A good question in those moments is, and we all say yeah, but to everything, right? So use your yeah, but. And when that afflictive emotion comes up, that judgment comes up, you can say, yeah, but what's lovely about this person right now? What's beautiful about them? And if you look a little bit deeper, you see that they're frustrated and angry and going off on you because they're in pain and they don't know how to work with it. And in that moment, you see a young one. You're no longer seeing a full-grown adult that's acting way below their dignity. Now what you're seeing is that innocent child within that has no other way. They don't know. They haven't learned the coping mechanisms to make them more able to deal with their frustrations. And so in that place, there's nowhere you can go but compassion. You feel their pain. And compassion is what arises. So there's a thing called personal coherence. It's also known as mind-body coherence, and it refers to the synchronization of our physical, mental, and emotional systems. There's a wonderful organization called HeartMath. They've done a lot of studies with this, what they call heart coherence. It's worth Googling if you're interested. And this personal coherence or heart coherence can be measured by heart rhythm patterns. The more balanced and smooth they are, the more in sync or coherent we are. So when you look at that heartbeat, a normal heartbeat of somebody who's just in the regular, everyday world, the heartbeat will, boom, 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 goes through that little up, down, and you can see it on the monitor. For most of us, it's a jaggedy line. When there's anxiety on board, it goes, so it's very, very jaggedy on the screen. When you do the heart practice to build the heart coherence, what happens, it doesn't take long at all. 10 minutes of breathing through the heart. And we all know that as practitioners, we've all done that loving kindness practice. And I'm sure you've sat with a teacher who says on this practice, instead of focusing on your nose, you're going to focus on the heart. And so our phrases, perhaps we're using loving kindness phrases, perhaps we're just remembering a time where we were given some unconditional love from another, feeling that sensation of that unconditional love and dropping away the story. There's many different loving kindness practices, but they're all where you're focusing on it right from the heart. So in the heart coherence, when you're working on smoothing that heart coherence thing, you breathe in through the heart, and you breathe in, and then when you breathe out, and you do this slow, you slow the breath a little, and then you allow that out breath to be a little longer. We won't get into counting this many times on the in-breath, counting that many on the out-breath, mainly because that's going to engage the thinking brain, and you're not going to be fully in the heart practice. This is experiential, not a thinking practice. And so we're just going to breathe in through the heart and out through the heart. And the more we do that, the more smooth that heartbeat becomes, the more coherent the heartbeat becomes. They've done enough research to find that people who practice this kind of a practice, their immune systems actually get stronger. And there's so many good results from that. Okay, so take a step back and reminding yourself of what is important, what aligns your brain with the inherent rhythm of your heart. It results in clarity of thought and increases creativity so you can cope more effectively with the stressors in your life. When we're stressed out, and is when we are more likely to speak or act from an unskillful place. And if you've noticed, when you're stressed out, you're more likely to injure yourself as well. You're more likely to drop something. You're more likely to stub your toe. Stress, we're just not, when we're stressed out, we're all in that thinking mode, and thought/emotion, which are two sides of the same coin. And therefore, we're not mindful. And when you're not mindful, you're more likely to make mistakes and hurt yourself or others. And it's those vocal ones, the meanness, that are worse than a broken bone. And increases the creativity. I love that one, especially for any of you who are writers, singers, songwriters, painters, really everything in life, all walks of life. Even construction people get very creative in their work. So it increases our creativity. So there's many good reasons to do this. Okay. Using the power of your heart to balance thoughts and emotions, you can achieve energy, mental clarity, and feel better faster anywhere. It can make a shift for you in as little as 10 minutes. That's something that if you're at a job that has got you triggered with a coworker or something, you can just excuse yourself for a potty break. Only this is a spiritual potty break. And just take your 10-minute break to do that breathing through the heart and watch when you come back. Another thing, I've actually done this experiment myself, and it works. But the Heart Math Institute ran a study where they had a gathering of young people that were working on a project that brought up a lot of angst for them. They wanted to get it right. They had different ideas of how this would best work. 2 out of 10 of these people knew this heart practice and could bring their own heart coherence in when the anxiety levels started to increase. And so that was their job. The others had no idea they were even a part of the experiment in that moment. And so the two that, as the heated conversation got a little more heat to it, those two started their heart breathing. And within about 10 minutes, they had gone completely into the coherent heart, but so had the others. The people knew they were part of an experiment. They didn't know what the experiment was. They just knew they were hooked to these little heart monitors. And so it's contagious. We have such a great ability to not only save ourselves, but to save all beings. And you don't have to say a word so nobody gets riled up with a yeah, but. And so what a beautiful gift to bring into any environment that we find ourselves in. Find yourself in a political conversation. Woo! There's a place to work with your heart coherence. So it increases our energy, it increases our mental clarity, and it makes us able to feel better anywhere under any circumstances. So we're going to talk about the appreciation practice, and appreciation and gratitude kind of are very similar things. A couple of definitions I want to share with you about appreciation. Number one is the recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. Some of our synonyms would be admiration, respect, regard, esteem. And then the second definition is a full understanding of the situation, acknowledgement, recognition, realization, knowledge, awareness, consciousness, understanding, and comprehension. Those are our synonyms. And so let me give you the definition of gratitude so you can see how these things are very, very closely knit. Gratitude, the quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation, and the desire to return a kindness. And so these two are like partners. They walk hand in hand, appreciation and gratitude. There's just, you can't see a line between them. There's a continuum there. It's the recognition with the appreciation and the understanding. And then gratitude is the readiness and the kindness. So gratitude is almost more of an active thing, while appreciation is more of a coming to the place where you can act. Okay, so you can use appreciation to improve your mind. With applied appreciation, you will start to operate at a more optimal level. Instead of being mentally consumed by anxieties or problems, you will start to see perspectives beyond them by opening yourself up to an appreciation of how things are in the larger sense. And I want to say that one again. You will start to see perspectives beyond them by opening yourself up to an appreciation of how things are in a larger sense. Kind of like what we were just talking about, where that one was being mean, that one was being angry, that one was being like totally inappropriate. And we look a little deeper and we see the pain that that's coming from. So we see it in a larger sense. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is their karma working its way through. We can honor that, we can respect that, and we can be kind in the face of that. So the shift from being myopically focused on the problem, then you can think more clearly and perceive solutions that never might have occurred to you before. It's kind of like activating the wide angle on your camera. If you've got this little myopic view, you don't see that larger sense. You just see the problem. And we can never solve a problem from going after the problem. I think it was Einstein that said something to the effect of problems are never solved by the same mindset that they were perceived from. That's a gross paraphrase, but you know what I mean. And so, yeah, we just open that to the wide angle lens. And now we have the larger perspective of it. From that place, nothing but compassion can come. And from a place of compassion, the action is kindness. Okay, so you find yourself, their A string got plucked. And now your A string is starting to sound. And so what do? Well, when my adopted grandson and my own granddaughter turned 15, I wanted to write them a song that would kind of, because they're discovering their spiritual selves at that age, and it's a very rich and vulnerable time for influencing, good or bad influences. And so I'm still at that age, to the kids, I'm still the rock star grandma. And so I can say something that actually could get in at this point. Now get a little older and they're going to know a whole lot more than I know, but or they're going to think they do, at least for a while, and maybe they will. But so I want to share this with you because I discovered that there's a part of each of us that probably needs to hear this too. We've already heard it. We probably even know it internally, But we don't always remember in the heat of the moment to use the technique. Just turn it around. You can turn it around and go from that myopic to the wide angle lens. So, when your feelings get hurt, or you're scared you're in trouble, or you're so angry you start to get loud, then you feel hard and cold, and the troubles get double, and you're stuck like you're pinned to the ground. Just turn it around, look at the other side, see all the beauty and treasure you found. Just turn it around, feel your heart open wide, then you can finally fly free and unbound. Just turn it around, turn it around, turn it, oh turn it around, turn it around, turn it, turn it, turn it around. When you feel like you're trapped and you can't find your way out of the sadness, afraid you might drown, but the choice is still yours to give up or to break out. Just remember the power you found to turn it around. Look at the other side, see all the beauty and wisdom you found. Just turn it around, feel your heart open wide, then you can finally fly free and unbound. Just turn it around, turn it around, turn it, oh turn it around, turn it around, turn it, turn it around. When judgment dissolves, compassion arises. As compassion arises, then gratitude comes. When gratitude comes, we find joy in others. When we find joy in others, we see we're all one. We're all one. Yeah, we turned it around. Look at the other side. See all the beauty and truth that you found. Just turn it around. Feel your heart open wide. Then you can finally fly free and unbound. Just turn it around. Turn it around. Turn it, turn it, turn it around. Turn it around. Turn it, turn it, turn it around. And so, that's lovely, and the song helps me remember to do it. But when I was thinking about my grandkids, I was thinking, you know, it's hard to remember what could I give these kids that would give them a tangible to remind them, turn this thing around when it gets icky. And I went over to the Elijah gem mine down here. Let me tell you, they have some beautiful stones in there. And among the things they have that are not expensive is these tiny little geodes. And I don't know if they still have them, but back then they had little geodes that were black on the outside of them. But if you turned it around, it was amethyst with little sparkles of pyrite in it. It was so gloriously beautiful, and it was like, oh my God, turn it around. And so I got the kids a geode. And when I sang them their song, I just had them put their hand out and put the stone in their hand face down, the dark side up. And I told them this black ugliness, that's just the black ugliness. Wait, and then when you hear the words, turn it around. I want you to flip it over. And you could see in their eyes, the tangibleness helped so much to get the feeling of what the lyrics were trying to tell them. So I would like to invite anyone who is so inspired to find your own geode that you can do that very action. We learn through sight, we learn through hearing, we learn through all the senses. We also learn kinetically or through the body, through motion. And that's a way to teach ourselves somatically. Turn it around. You've done it with your hand. You can do it with your heart. You can do it with your mind. You know. So find a geo if it sounds fun to you, and put that on your altar or by your phone. Okay. So let's go back. Okay. So appreciation is also good for improving your health. We talked a little bit about that. Nourishing biochemicals are released in your system from appreciation. Your body will thrive. Because you're less stressed out when you're in a state of appreciation, you will gradually become more resilient against fatigue and aging. So all these wrinkle creams that you spend a fortune on that don't really work if you're out of them for a week, this is a spiritual wrinkle cream that does not fail. The wrinkles in the soul, and also just the physical. They've done enough studies to know that physically, the emotion of appreciation really lifts us up. Inflammation drops away. Our immune systems become stronger. We become more resilient, and therefore we age more gracefully. That's a lovely thing. That gives us more time to be of use and to spread the love through the world. The agape love that Venerable spoke about on Thursday, the divine love. I like to think of that kind of love because love is such a loaded word in our culture. It means all kinds of things. But the love we're speaking about here is a selfless love, a love that has no self-motive to it. This is a fun thing to experiment too, when you're doing something wonderful for somebody else. To be able to look deeply, maybe not in the moment while you're with them because you wouldn't be fully present, but to come back afterwards. And remember, you want to really relive that thing, because I've noticed for myself, and I invite you to look and see if it's true for you, that a lot of times I'm doing it because I'm a gratitude addict and I love the thank you. And it's like, oh yeah, there's some self stuff. My motive isn't completely pure of self. And so now when I say look deeply and find out, is that true for you? That's not so that the mind can come through the back door and judge you and say, oh yeah, you screwed up yet again. You know, this is not what it's there for. And so watch, because the mind is a very, very sneaky character. And a lot of times that's the thing he's going to do, is he's going to judge you on your practice, you know. So don't let him go there. Rein that puppy in. Sit. Lay down. And so see, what are your motives? And as we work at it, the more we recognize it with intention and desire to free ourselves of those unhealthy and handicapping thoughts and emotions, the more we look them in the face, the more they dissolve. The only way they can keep a hold on you is if you're ignorant, too afraid. Those are the two that come to mind immediately. Either you just don't know that you're doing it, or you're afraid to look it directly in the eye for whatever those reasons might be. Fear is our best friend in these cases, because it says, hey, there's a lot of investment in self here if you're scared to look at the self. But I promise you, every time you look at that self, that ego, mind-made sense of self, every time you look that guy in the eye, it's like the PowerPoint where the screen crumbles into pixels and they fall away, and then truth shows up right underneath it. And the more we do this, it's like going to the gym. You can hold those weights all day long. You're not going to build muscle. The best you're going to do is stretch a muscle, but you're not going to build any muscle. It's when we look it in the eye that we get those reps. That's how the practice builds. That's how the self dissolves over time. Just the more we do it, it's repetition. And really, it's so simple and it's so hard. But it does get easier. As we've all discovered with our practice, it gets easier over time. So, and then number 3 was the improved overall quality of life from practicing appreciation. And this is perhaps the most powerful effect because of the emotional regeneration that comes from a feeling of appreciation. Our human animal starts to realize, how before you had a practice, how when you get angry, it was justified anger and there was a part of you that was invested in it. Then as your practice came on board and all that kind of pared away, where you realize, no, this is actually a handicap. It causes me suffering. I see that when I go there, it's a clear path right into the swamp of suffering. And so the emotional regeneration that they're speaking about, that HeartMath is speaking about in this place, is for the human animal to realize, actually, that anger, that striking out against, quote, injustice, that stuff doesn't feel good. And the appreciation lifts us into a place of more joy, of kindness. We feel so good when we're kind to somebody else. And not that we do it for that reason, but our human animal will train that way, the same way our puppies train. You train a puppy, beating it? And you got a dog that doesn't do things out of its love for you. It does things out of its fear of you. And that's feeding fear yet again. And so when we go there and we train in this emotional regeneration through the appreciation practice, then what happens is our little human animal starts to feel the joy and the rejuvenation, the youth, the energy, the creativity, all of that. We then start to turn. We start naturally and reflexively turning it around. No effort is required anymore. It becomes a reflex. So be watching for the reflex to build. Okay. I want to give you this quote from a Persian holy man by the name of Abdul Baha. And he said, "The reality of man is his thought." The very same thing we read right at the beginning from the Dhammapada. With our thoughts, we make the world. It's not that I think this table into existence. It's that this table is either a functional thing that I value and I'm going to use it, or for some reason, if I've got some past experience with a TV tray and I now hate TV trays, then my world is a world of aversion to TV trays. That's the world I created with my thought. So that's what we're getting at, is the reality of man is his thought. We create our own world, and the very same TV tray that is something that I don't want anywhere near, you think, oh yeah, give me the TV tray, that'll work. So this is what we mean by, with our thought, we make our world. Whatever you frequently think and ponder upon, that will become the inclination of your mind. This is a quote from the Buddha. I'm not sure which sutta, but I want to read it again. Whatever you frequently think and ponder upon, that will become the inclination of your mind. So if your reflexive way of being in the world is saying no to everything, finding something wrong with everything, there's a problem, something wonderful is happening, but there's this, we become more and more negative by going that path. Whatever we continually do, that becomes kind of who we are. That's the inclination of the mind. It makes perfect sense when you think about learning an instrument and the practicing. To begin with, you're not going to play Beethoven. You're going to play scales. And then Mary had a little lamb so much that you probably hate the song. But the repetition of it builds it where you can go further. Same principle with our spiritual practice. And we've all heard that old Native American tale, but I would like to share it with you anyways, the Cherokee Teaching, where there's an elder, a Cherokee elder, who's speaking with his grandson. And he says, "Son, a fight is going on inside of me. It's a terrible fight, and it's between two wolves. One is evil, and he is angry, envious, sorrowful, regretful, greed, anger, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. This is what that wolf is made of. The other is a good wolf. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. That same fight is going on inside of you, my boy, inside of every other person too." The grandson thought about it for a minute or two, and then he asked his grandpa, he says, "Which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee Indian says, "The one you feed." So the fight is eternal. Welcome to the human condition. This is the plane of samsara. We'll never be totally free of it. But as our practice deepens, our own way of being in the world can be free of it. And it's fun to watch the process. If you're really grabbing and leaning into the being free of it, you're going to miss the beauty of the practice, the beauty of the process, seeing those little increments of success as you move along. And maybe having a good Dharma buddy that can point out to you, because sometimes we don't see it in ourselves. I'm so blessed because I come back and forth between Missouri, where my family all is, and Heartwood, where my spiritual family is. And so I'm gone for months at a time. And then I'm here for a month or two at a time, hopefully more. And I get to see all of your progress that you all have made. And it stands out and it shines and it's so gorgeous. And to see, gosh, you guys have really transformed since last time I was here. I know that I am you and you are me, and that some part of me has transformed too. So it's such encouragement to see each other's transformation, because we're all in this together. We're all making these transformations together. Okay, so small actions build momentum, and we've talked a lot about that. And then the other one that I really want to accentuate, put a little weight to, is that your thinking is a choice. To begin with, we have a natural tendency to want to say, well, I'm thinking that way because you said that, or you did this, and we put the blame out there in the world. Blame is an absolutely useless thing. We look at the dependent origination, looking for the cause of why is this the way it is? Why is this person a child abuser? And you look back and you look at what did their parents do with them? It's like they were an abused child, you know? And so this stuff, there's no place to lay the blame. Grandpa and grandma were even worse. And so blame is just something we need to totally lay that piece down on the ground. It is useless to us. But Mother Earth can take those thoughts, those negative thoughts and negative emotions, and she can energetically transform that negativity in the same way that we put manure on our gardens. We can give our spiritual manure back to Mother Earth. She's not insulted by anything, as the Buddha tells us. What she actually does with that is she transforms it into life-giving chi. And so just know she's mama for a reason. She can take all that crap and recycle it into something beautiful. So, and that's, I think, part of why the Buddha, when Mara was there tempting the Buddha throughout the night, and at a certain point, the Mara is grasping at straws to try and get the Buddha off center, and he says, "What makes you think you're worthy for awakening or knowing truth?" And the Buddha touched Mother Earth, and he says, "The earth is my witness." The earth is our witness, friends. We can always touch her when we're attacked by Mara. It's good to recognize our afflictive emotions as Mara coming at us. And that's one thing I've found it works as a great mantra for me when I get into those judgmental or afflictive emotion places. If I can wake up in the moment there and just say, "I see you, Mara," and then it all crumbles. But it also, there's something to me about the "I see you, Mara" that has a playful tone to it. It's uplifting and it becomes fun. The practice becomes fun in that moment. And you know what? There's enough misery and sadness in our world. Some good spiritual fun, not only benefiting us. Remember Indra's net, my dear Jules. You know, when you're having fun and you're seeing the beauty and recognizing Mara, and yet again, you caught him in the act. It's almost a game. It's very important and very serious and very sacred, but that doesn't mean it can't be playful and fun. So your thinking is a choice. Know your thinking is a choice and turn it around. Engaging in the coherent power of your heart. Ooh, I'm a big talker here today, sorry. We have a few more minutes and I may go a few minutes over with your permission. Yes, okay, thank you. So engaging in the power of your heart to generate and sustain appreciative feelings will bring more peace and fulfillment into your life. It's actually hard to have peace in your life without a healthy sense of appreciation for all that you already have. It also is kind of magic, because when you start feeling gratitude, and a good gratitude practice is just to keep a journal every morning, write down, what am I grateful for in this moment? When I started that practice, I thought it was going to be things like, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for that my family is alive and healthy. I'm grateful. I thought it would be big things. What I discovered was, this is in the dead of winter, I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head that doesn't leak and that I got a heater that works. Some of the most mundane things were the things that brought up the greatest gratitude and appreciation. So if that's something that seems fun for you, then I invite you, along with your geo, to start a gratitude journal. And the more we focus on what we're grateful for, there's also been research done on this, and it shows that a gratitude practice actually builds our level of happiness on a regular daily basis. So, gratitude practice, should you decide. Okay, so we talked about the heart practice a little earlier. I just want to summarize it one more time. We shift our attention to the area of the heart. Imagine your breath passing in and out through your heart area or through the center of your chest as you slowly inhale and a little bit slower exhale. Breathe in an attitude of calm and balance, as if you were taking in an emotional tonic that takes off all the rough edges. Bring your attention to something you appreciate. Now, this is step 2. So the first one is breathing through the heart. Step 2 is bring your attention to something you appreciate, something you have genuine positive regard for. Nature, your spouse, your pet, something of beauty, whatever it is that you have a real regard for. Allow your thinking mind to use that. This is a puppy mind, right? We want to give it a chewy toy. And so your chewy toy is whatever it is that you feel a genuine positive regard for. That you allow your mind to think that as you're breathing in and out of the heart. And your human puppy is training in appreciation. So with that, I'm going to close with a song and a dedication of merit. I want to thank you all for being with us today. I want to thank our Devas and Buddhas and holy beings for joining us today. I want to thank our ancestors and all our loved ones on the other side of the veil for being with us here today. And all of you guys out there on the internet, they're doing it with us now or finding it later. Thank you for joining us. I hope you receive something of benefit that will make your life and your practice easier and more fun. Could there be more to this life we call mine than a journey through space or a storyline? More to life than the body can sense, than the mind can conclude from experience. Does who we are begin with breath, depend on form, or end with death? Strip away these roles, these names, and tell me what remains. Who you really are, who you really are. We measure success by the things we accrue, or the bonds that were formed, or the deeds we do. These too shall pass. Hard as we try to hold on to form, form will die. Inherent in this dance of form is a chance to see what's yet unborn. The choice to throw this chance away and be caught up in the play of who we think we are, who we think we are. This is our lifetime. It could end at any time. Where's your attention? Where is your prayer? Where is your song? Fortunately, comes a call to be free from this cycle of bondage, this identity, to awake from a dream and finally realize the truth of one's being before the body dies. So before the final scene is past, see the screen on which it's cast. See what's seeing, this me and you, and then you will see who you really are, who you really are, who we really are. And so let's dedicate the merit of our practice here together. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can bind in giving unity, may their minds awaken to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Let me send you off, dear friends, today, all my beautiful jewels on Indra's net. Play with a mudita practice. That's an empathetic joy practice. When you see anyone else having fun, see what you can do about soaking in their joy and wishing may their happiness continue. So I'm giving you homework. Okay, love you, friends.
Thank you, Lori.